How to learn English. Mia often felt a knot in her stomach whenever the topic of speaking English came up. She yearned to express her thoughts fluently, to connect with people from different cultures, but a persistent fear held her back. The question, how to learn English, haunted her dreams, feeling like an insurmountable mountain. Every method she tried seemed to fizzle out, leaving her more disheartened than before. This journey felt truly daunting. Her biggest hurdle was the constant worry about making mistakes. "I don't want to make a mistake, but I always do," she would lament silently. This self-doubt paralyzed her, preventing her from taking any real steps forward. She knew the way of learning English involved consistent practice, yet the fear of embarrassment outweighed her desire for improvement. It was a vicious cycle she desperately wanted to break. One afternoon, while scrolling online, she stumbled upon a compelling video featuring an incredibly confident English speaker. The speakers shared their personal journey, emphasizing the profound importance of immersion and consistent effort. Mia felt a glimmer of hope ignite within her, a spark of possibility she hadn't felt in ages. Perhaps her approach was simply misdirected, and a new strategy could unlock her hidden potential. The speaker explained that the true way of learning English began not with perfection, but with exposure. Listen and practice relentlessly, they urged. Mia started downloading podcasts, audiobooks, and even English-language vlogs. She listened everywhere, during her commute, while cooking, and before bed. It felt less like studying and more like immersing herself in a new, fascinating soundscape. This felt like a feasible first step. Initially, much of it sounded like a blur, an indistinguishable stream of sounds. But slowly, gradually, individual words began to emerge from the cacophony. She started to mimic the intonation, the rhythm, the cadence of the speakers. This listen and practice phase was surprisingly enjoyable. She wasn't pressured to produce perfect sentences, only to absorb the language's natural flow and patterns. This quiet period was crucial. Then came the revelation about reading. The speaker had stressed, why reading is important cannot be overstated, it builds vocabulary and grammar intuitively. Mia had always seen reading as a chore, something for advanced learners. Now, she understood it was foundational. She started with simple graded readers, progressing to short articles about topics she genuinely found interesting, making the process engaging. She learned why you must read English daily. It exposes you to correct sentence structures and diverse vocabulary in context. Unlike memorizing lists, reading helps words stick because you encounter them in meaningful situations. It reinforces grammar without explicit rules, a far more natural assimilation. This active engagement with written language felt like unlocking a secret code, expanding her comprehension significantly. Mia committed to reading at least 30 minutes every single day, no matter how tired she felt. Soon, she noticed her understanding of spoken English improving as well. The words she read were the same ones she heard, creating a powerful feedback loop. This consistent exposure strengthened her neural pathways, making the language feel less foreign and more accessible with each passing day. The confidence from listening and reading grew, but the fear of talking still loomed large. How to take the first step for talking, she wondered, her heart pounding at the mere thought. The idea of forming sentences and articulating thoughts in real time seemed terrifying. She knew practice was key, but the leap from passive learning to active speaking felt monumental and incredibly daunting. The video offered a simple yet revolutionary piece of advice: start talking at home. Mia felt a wave of relief. She didn't have to face public scrutiny just yet. She began by talking to herself in the mirror, describing her day, narrating her actions, even arguing with herself in English. It felt silly at first, but nobody was listening, so the pressure was entirely off her shoulders. She practiced introducing herself, ordering food, asking for directions, all scenarios she imagined herself encountering. These solo conversations became her safe haven, a private laboratory where she could experiment with words and phrases without judgment. She allowed herself to stumble, to pause, to correct, understanding that this internal struggle was a vital part of her learning process. It was liberating. The more she talked to herself, the more comfortable her tongue felt forming English sounds. Her brain started to think in English more naturally, reducing the need for constant translation. This consistent "start talking at home" routine built a solid foundation of muscle memory and confidence. It was surprising how much progress she made simply by engaging with herself privately. The next step was intimidating: talking to others. The video recommended how to talk to people in pairs. This seemed less daunting than a large group, offering a more controlled environment. Mia found an online language exchange partner, a friendly student named Leo who also wanted to improve his English. They agreed to meet virtually twice a week for short conversations. Their first few conversations were awkward, filled with hesitations and long silences. Mia's old fear resurfaced: I don't want to make a mistake, but I always do. She felt her face flush whenever she stumbled over a word or mixed up tenses. The perfectionist in her screamed in frustration, wanting to retreat into her safe, silent world of listening and reading. But Leo was patient and encouraging. He made his own mistakes, too, and they laughed about them together. This shared vulnerability began to chip away at Mia's fear. She realized that making mistakes wasn't a sign of failure, but an inevitable, necessary part of the learning process. Everyone on this journey experienced similar struggles, and that was okay. They started with simple topics: hobbies, daily routines, favorite foods. Gradually, their conversations became more complex, delving into opinions and experiences. Mia focused on conveying her message, even if her grammar wasn't flawless. The goal shifted from perfection to communication, a subtle but profound change in her mindset. This practical application solidified her understanding. This regular interaction with Leo proved invaluable. It forced her to think on her feet, to recall vocabulary quickly, and to structure sentences under mild pressure. She discovered gaps in her knowledge that passive learning couldn't expose. The experience of how to talk to people in pairs was truly a turning point, transforming her theoretical knowledge into practical ability. Every mistake became a learning opportunity, not a cause for shame. Mia started to actively seek feedback, asking Leo to correct her errors gently. This proactive approach accelerated her improvement. The fear of "I don't want to make a mistake" but I always do, slowly transformed into, I make mistakes, and that's how I learn. This was a powerful shift. Her confidence soared as her fluency improved. She joined an online English speaking club, where she could interact with even more diverse speakers. The supportive environment further solidified her belief that speaking English was not about flawless performance, but about effective communication and continuous growth. Every conversation was a stepping stone, building her capabilities. Mia even started watching English movies without subtitles, understanding much more than she ever thought possible. Her reading speed increased, and she began to enjoy English literature, expanding her worldview. The phrase, "why reading is so important," resonated deeply now, as she experienced its profound benefits firsthand, integrating new knowledge effortlessly into her lexicon. She realized that the way of learning English was not a linear path but a cyclical journey of listening, reading, practicing, and then speaking. Each component reinforced the others. The more she listened, the better she understood. The more she read, the richer her vocabulary. The more she spoke, the more confident she became in her abilities. The initial question, how to learn English, now had a clear answer for Mia: consistently engage with the language in multiple modalities. She understood that dedication, patience, and a willingness to embrace imperfection were far more crucial than innate talent or perfect memory. It was about showing up daily and embracing the entire process with open arms. She became a fervent advocate for listen and practice, sharing her journey with others who felt stuck. She emphasized that even 10 minutes of active listening a day could make a profound difference over time. It wasn't about cramming, but about consistent, bite-sized exposure that gently nudged your brain toward linguistic assimilation. This steady rhythm was key. Mia often reflected on why reading is important. She saw it as the bedrock of vocabulary acquisition and grammatical intuition. A well-read person possesses a vast array of phrases and sentence structures naturally embedded in their mind, ready for recall during conversation. It's like stocking a linguistic pantry, ensuring you always have the right ingredients. She now fully appreciated why you must read English regularly. It's not just for knowledge, it's for language conditioning. Reading trains your brain to recognize patterns, predict upcoming words, and understand complex ideas presented in English. It sharpens comprehension skills, making spoken English easier to process and respond to accurately and quickly. The early, daunting challenge of how to take first step for talking seemed so distant now. She remembered her shy self, whispering in front of the mirror. That small, seemingly insignificant act was the courageous beginning of her vocal journey. Every great journey starts with a single step, and hers began with those quiet, solitary rehearsals. Her advice to beginners was always, start talking at home. She explained that removing the external pressure of an audience allows you to focus purely on the mechanics of speaking, on the formation of sounds and sentences. It builds a crucial comfort level before you step into the public arena, making the transition much smoother. Mia understood firsthand why reading is so important for long-term fluency. It's not a temporary boost but a continuous source of growth. New words and expressions are constantly entering the language, and reading keeps you updated, expanding your linguistic toolkit indefinitely. It prevents stagnation and keeps your language dynamic and relevant. She also passionately shared her experience with how to talk to people in pairs. She described it as the perfect bridge between solo practice and group conversations. The intimacy of a one-on-one setting fosters trust and reduces anxiety, allowing for more genuine and meaningful exchanges. It's a low-stakes environment for high-impact learning. The constant battle with, "I don't want to make a mistake, but I always do," had been overcome by a simple shift in perspective. She learned that mistakes were her best teachers, highlighting areas for improvement. Embracing them meant embracing growth. This realization was profoundly liberating, transforming her entire learning philosophy into something positive. Mia's English journey had evolved from a frustrating struggle into a joyful exploration. She no longer saw obstacles but opportunities. The fear of judgment had dissipated, replaced by a genuine curiosity and an eagerness to communicate effectively with anyone, anywhere. Her transformation was remarkable, a testament to her perseverance and strategic approach. She now volunteered to help new language learners, eager to share the wisdom she had gained. Her story became an inspiration, showing others that fluency was achievable for anyone willing to put in a consistent effort and adopt the right mindset. She proved that the way of learning English was accessible to all. Her teaching philosophy centered around the core principles of listen and practice. She designed engaging activities that encouraged active listening and spontaneous speaking, even if imperfect. Don't wait for perfection, she would advise, start using what you know, and build from there. Imperfection is the pathway to fluency. Mia would always emphasize why reading is important, showcasing how it expanded her vocabulary exponentially. She believed that a rich lexicon was the bedrock of nuanced expression, allowing speakers to convey precise meanings and complex ideas. Reading provided this richness naturally, without the tedium of rote memorization, making it enjoyable. She would tell her students, "Why you must read English is simple, it grounds your speaking in correct language. You internalize grammar patterns and natural collocations without consciously trying. It's subconscious learning at its best, building an innate sense of what sounds right, which is crucial for fluency and confidence." For those hesitant to speak, Mia offered practical steps for how to take first step for talking. She recommended starting small, perhaps recording themselves and listening back. This self-assessment, she explained, provided valuable insights without the pressure of an audience. It was about building a safe, private space for initial experimentation. Her strongest encouragement was always to start talking at home. Your bathroom mirror is your first, most forgiving audience, she'd joke. This simple act of vocalizing thoughts, even mundane ones, creates a neural pathway for speaking that strengthens with repetition, making the transition to external conversation less intimidating and more fluid. Mia found that reinforcing why reading is so important often sparked renewed motivation in her students. She showed them how reading diverse materials, from news articles to fiction, opened up new worlds and connected them to global conversations, making the English language feel alive and relevant to their personal interests. When it came to actual interaction, Mia guided her students on how to talk to people in pairs. She stressed the importance of finding a supportive partner and focusing on mutual understanding rather than flawless grammar. Communication is the goal, she'd say, not an accent or perfect syntax. Progress, not perfection. And for the perennial fear, I don't want to make a mistake, but I always do, Mia shared her own past struggles. She explained that every fluent speaker had traversed the same path, riddled with errors. Mistakes are proof you're trying, she'd reassure them. They're your personal signposts on the road to mastery. Her students began to internalize these lessons. They saw Mia as living proof that overcoming challenges was possible. Her calm demeanor and genuine encouragement instilled a new sense of belief in their own capabilities. The collective fear of English speaking slowly started to dissipate among her enthusiastic group. Mia's journey had truly come full circle. She, who once trembled at the thought of speaking, now confidently led discussions and inspired dozens. Her comprehensive understanding of how to learn English made her an exceptional mentor. She had transformed her personal struggle into a powerful blueprint for others. She developed a practical framework for the way of learning English, breaking it down into manageable steps. This demystified the process for her students, making it less overwhelming. By focusing on consistent effort rather than sporadic bursts, she showed them that steady progress was not just achievable, but inevitable for dedicated learners. The cornerstone remained, listen and practice. She organized listening groups where students could discuss podcasts or videos, fostering active comprehension and conversational skills. Then, they'd role-play, practicing phrases and dialogues, ensuring that what they absorbed through listening was immediately put into active use, solidifying new knowledge. When discussing why reading is important, Mia would bring in diverse texts, from casual blogs to academic articles. She wanted her students to see the vast applicability of English, not just in everyday conversations, but also in specialized fields. Reading, she argued, opened doors to professional growth and intellectual enrichment globally. Her passionate explanations of why you must read English resonated deeply. She explained that reading improved not only active vocabulary but also passive recognition, making it easier to understand fast-paced conversations and complex narratives. It was the silent engine driving comprehensive linguistic improvement and accelerated learning. Mia structured exercises specifically designed for how to take first step for talking, always starting with very low-pressure scenarios. They would begin with simple greetings and self-introductions, gradually increasing complexity. The focus was on building confidence through small, successful interactions before moving on to more demanding situations. The "start talking at home" philosophy was practiced with enthusiasm. Mia encouraged students to record voice notes daily, sending them to her for gentle feedback. This private, low-stakes environment allowed them to experiment freely, without the immediate pressure of live conversation, fostering a sense of accomplishment and courage. For those ready to interact, how to talk to people in pairs was the next natural progression. Mia would pair students with complementary strengths, ensuring supportive interactions. They would share personal stories, debate simple topics, and practice asking clarifying questions, all designed to build conversational fluency organically. And the old nemesis, "I don't want to make a mistake, but I always do," was consistently addressed. Mia shared personal anecdotes of her own past errors, turning them into humorous learning moments. This vulnerability created a safe space where students felt comfortable making and correcting their own mistakes. Mia now watched her students flourish, just as she had. They were confidently engaging in conversations, consuming English media, and even traveling to English-speaking countries without apprehension. Her methods, born from personal struggle and practical experience, truly empowered them to unlock their linguistic potential successfully. The transformation from being paralyzed by fear to becoming a confident communicator was a testament to the power of consistent, strategic effort. Mia's story proved that fluency wasn't a gift, but a cultivated skill, accessible to anyone who embraced the process wholeheartedly and persevered through initial difficulties. Every day, new learners approached Mia, seeking her guidance on how to learn English. She greeted them with a warm smile, ready to share the comprehensive path she had meticulously charted. Her journey became a beacon, guiding countless others through the challenging yet immensely rewarding process of language acquisition. She continued to refine her approach to the way of learning English, always seeking innovative ways to make the journey smoother and more enjoyable. Mia was a living example that language learning was a continuous adventure, filled with endless possibilities for personal growth and cross-cultural connection. And so, Mia's legacy grew, built on the simple yet profound truth that consistent listening, dedicated reading, brave speaking, and a forgiving attitude towards mistakes are the undeniable pillars of English mastery. Her story was a powerful reminder that every voice deserves to be heard, regardless of initial imperfections.